Good morning everyone. This is Padma. My topic is circulatory pathways from the chapter Body Fluids and Circulation of class 11th Biology. As we know that every living organism is made up of cells, and these cells require some of the major nutrients like carbohydrates, proteins and fats, and the respiratory gases like oxygen and some other essential substances. So what are those other essential substances means? Yes, here we can consider them as hormones, vitamins, minerals, etc. So these substances are definitely they should reach to the cells. So when they obtain these cells, when they obtain this type of the substances, then the cells can function properly, and that helps in the survival of these cells and the survival of the living organisms. So that's why for the healthy functioning, definitely these substances, definitely they should reach to the cells. And not only that, during the metabolic processes, some of the harmful substances are also produced like urea, ammonia, uric acid and the respiratory waste like carbon dioxide. And these materials also should be removed from the cells. Otherwise, they'll keep on accumulate inside the cells and inside these organs, results in damage to the living organism, and sometimes even it results in the death of the organism. So to avoid such type of the unnecessary damage, whatever the substances which are not required, yes, definitely they should remove from the cells. That is why here we said these substances they should reach to the cells, and harmful substances they should move away from the cells. And for this movement of essential and harmful substances, definitely living organisms need certain mechanisms so that transportation of the materials can be occurred. And for the transportation, one of the system was actually got evolved in the living organisms, which is called as the circulatory system. But this circulation or this transport system is not same in the entire animal kingdom. As we know that in the animal kingdom, different phyla are present, that is porifera to up to the chordata. And in all these various groups, the transport of materials is, yes, definitely it occurs, but the way how it occurs is different from one group to the another group. For example, if it is in case of porifera and in case of cnidarians, okay, in these two groups actually they use water. A circulation of water actually they will use for the transport of materials. So what they will do is, suppose if it is their body, okay, if it is their body, these organisms generally what they will do is they let the water to move into their body cavity. Okay, they let the water to move into their body cavity, and whatever the required materials, as we said, nutrients, oxygen and other substances, when they come along with this water current, definitely they utilize them, and unnecessary harmful substances again they release outside through this outgoing water. Okay, so in this way they achieve the transport process or the transport of these materials. Required materials they are getting through the incoming water, and unnecessary materials are removed through the outgoing water. Okay, so this happens in the case of both porifera and as well as the cnidarians. As previously, like in the case of poriferans, if we will see, generally their body is urn shape or otherwise cylindrical shape. Okay, suppose if we will take one of a poriferan, generally it looks somewhat like this, a cylindrical shape, and these are aquatic, and generally these are sessile. Sessile means they attaches to one substrate like this. And now to let the water into their body cavity, they possess small pores on their body wall. And these small pores which are present on their body wall are actually called as dermal pores or otherwise dermal ostia. Okay, dermal pores or otherwise dermal ostia. Now, through these dermal pores or the dermal ostia, water move into their body cavity like this. Okay, water move from the external surroundings into their body cavity, and in their body cavity, whatever the cells which line that cavity, now they utilize the nutrients and as well as oxygen which come along with this water. Okay, the incoming water definitely brings nutrients and oxygen. So those nutrients and oxygen will utilized by these cells, and at the same way, whatever the harmful substances or the unwanted substances it possesses, definitely those are also released into this water. Now, whatever water which entered into this body cavity, now it want to leave, and for that one of the large opening is present at the anterior most region, which is generally called as osculum. Okay, how throughout the body they possess a small dermal ostia, the same way at the anterior most region one large opening is present which is called as osculum. Now, the water which is present inside the body cavity, now through this osculum it leave the sponge body, and while it is going, definitely it will take all the harmful substances, carbon dioxide along with it. That is what even previously also we have told, okay, in case of porifera and cnidaria. But this is what happened in the case of specifically in case of poriferans, and such a system is actually called as the water canal system. Okay, in case of poriferans, such a system is called as water canal system. Okay, from the surrounding, the nutrients, oxygen brought by the water into the body cavity which are utilized by the cells, and now the harmful substances are released into that water, and when the water move out of the body, these substances also they can get rid of. So this is how the transport occurs in the poriferans. Whereas in the case of the cnidarians also follow the same sort of mechanism. The basic principle is same, but the difference is generally poriferans are multicellular and level of organization is cellular level of organization. Whereas in case of cnidarians, the level of organization is tissue level. So definitely we can see a little difference in their body organization, that is from porifera to cnidaria. So if it is in case of cnidarians, like the cylindrical body, and here also they attaches to the substratum like adamsia like structures if we will see. At the anterior most region they have one of a opening which act like a mouth, and even the anus also, and surrounding to that, as we know that number of finger like projections which are present, those are nothing but the tentacles. Okay, suppose like this. Now water from the outside it will go into their body cavity, and from there again it will come outside. So this is what happens in the case of this type of the cnidarians. Okay, they don't have such type of the channels, but here also they are provided with certain type of the canals, especially if it is in case of the medusoid stages. Okay, in medusoid stages like jellyfishes and all, they have a specific channels through which water move into their body and then leave the body, and such a system which is present in the cnidarians is called as gastrovascular system. Okay, gastrovascular system. So in this way, through the water, the transportation of the materials are achieved by both porifera and as well as the cnidarians. Whereas in the case of the platyhelminthes and nematodes, they don't require such type of the transport system, as we know that majority of the animals in those two groups are parasites, as they get a completely like digested food materials from the host body, and majority of these parasites act like anaerobes. So without or in absence of oxygen, they'll go for respiration. That is why Such type of the transport system is generally absent in the case of such a groups. Going towards the annelida. So in case of annelida, yes, a specific circulatory system can be seen. But from annelida to up to the mammals, if we will compare, again we can see two different patterns of circulation. One is the open circulation, another one is the closed circulation. But before going into that patterns of circulation, yes, definitely we should understand the various components of circulatory system. Okay, that means in case of porifera and cnidaria, they used one of a liquid medium which is present in their surroundings, that is water, through which they acquire the required materials and get rid of the harmful substances. But in case of the higher animals, as they evolved even to the terrestrial environment, that surrounding water is actually not present. That is why they got evolved certain fluids in their body itself, like blood and one more fluid, that is lymph. So this liquid medium is helpful in transport of materials. But this liquid medium should reach to each and every corner of the body. And for that, definitely they need some of the force. And that force or that pressure is generated by or produced by one of a pumping organ, which is nothing but the heart. Okay, so the pumping organ is the heart. And through the heart, the fluids, that is especially here, one of the fluid which we have to say, that is blood. Through the heart, blood is pumped to each and every part of the body. And how this blood actually pumped or reached to the cells? Is it they have any particular channels through which this blood can transport, or otherwise just it will be released into the body spaces? So based on this itself, actually two different patterns of circulation got evolved. One is the open circulation, another one is the closed circulation. Okay, open circulation, and the second is the closed circulation. So here you can see this is the representation of open circulation and this is the representation of closed circulation. So you observe carefully. Here heart pumps the blood and that blood will open into the or released into certain blood vessels. Okay, in some of the organisms the blood vessels are completely absent, in some they are present but they are very less in number. Okay, so now blood which is released into these blood vessels, yes, they are bringing that blood nearer to these tissues. When these blood vessel reaches to these cells and the tissues, yes, the medium, that is of the blood, it is just released into the cells or into the tissues. So that type of the transportation is actually called as the open circulation, because the blood is directly released into the body cavity. Okay, into the body cavity, which are called as body sinuses. Okay, heart pumps the blood through the whatever the less number of blood vessels it contains. Through those blood vessels it reaches nearer to the cells and then the blood is released into the body cavity. That is called as, or those are called as the body sinuses. Okay, and here if you observe, each and every cell, they are in direct contact with the blood. Such a circulation is called as the open circulation. Okay, directly the cells bathed by the blood. Cells directly they will come in contact with the blood. That is what we have to remember in the case of open circulation, which we can see in few of the groups like arthropoda and mollusca. Okay, in these two of the phyla, such type of open circulation is seen, where the heart pumps the blood and this blood flow in body sinuses and cells are directly bathed by the blood. Whereas in the case of the closed circulation, here we can see specific channels. Okay, yes, definitely here also heart pump the blood and a specific channels like arteries which actually carry the oxygenated blood, and this oxygenated blood once it brought to the cells, there near the minute blood vessels which are called as capillaries are present, and these capillaries they actually helps in diffusion of these substances and reaching of those substances to the cells. And once those substances got reached and whatever the unnecessary substances again it collects, and all these again travel through one more structure or one more channel that is called as the vein, generally carries deoxygenated blood. Okay, and again it is going to the heart. So here we can see a complete circuit of blood vessels or a network of blood vessels which include arteries, capillaries, veins. Okay, never here you can see any sort of like cells are coming in contact with blood. So such a condition is not seen in a closed circulation. Okay, so complete circuit of blood vessels are present. That is why there is no need of any sort of sinuses or the cavities. Blood directly flow in the closed blood vessels, closed channels. Okay, so that is why such a circulation is called as the closed circulation. So these are the two different patterns, and this type of the circulation is seen in, yes, annelida and chordata. Okay, annelida and as well as the chordata. And in chordates itself again, that is in case of vertebrates, that is from fishes to mammals if we will see, again we can see the simple to complex level of transport system. Okay, yes, previously we said that in few of the groups the blood vessels are not completely developed, but yes, afterwards they got evolved the specific blood vessels and a complete network of blood vessels. But here now the question is, whatever the pumping structure which is present, that is a heart. So that heart structure is not same in each and every group of organisms. That too especially here will focus on the vertebrates, that is from fishes to mammals. Because in case of fishes if we will see, yes, fishes actually consist of two-chambered heart, where they include just one of the auricle, the upper chamber one auricle and the lower chamber one ventricle. Okay, so all together two chambers in their heart, and the two, whatever the blood which travels through the heart, that actually collected from the body parts. Okay, so from the body parts the deoxygenated blood, okay, the deoxygenated blood travels through this two-chambered heart and reaches to the gills. Okay, reaches to the gills, and once near the gills the blood got oxygenated, then the oxygen rich blood will move towards the body parts, and again from the body parts the deoxygenated blood will collect and again it travels through the heart. Okay, so what here we can see is the blood which travels through the heart is called as the blood which travels through the heart is actually deoxygenated blood. That is why the heart of the fishes is called as the venous heart. Okay, venous heart, and as it pumps the blood to the gills, that is why it is also called as branchial heart. And a single circuit, that means through the heart only once the blood can pass. That is why the type of the circulation is called as the single circulation. Okay, single circulation. That is in case of fishes. Whereas now going towards the amphibians. So in case of amphibians we can see three-chambered heart. Okay, three-chambered heart. So in which upper we can see two of the auricles, that is of right auricle, left auricle. Whereas going towards the down, that is towards the lower side, only one ventricle is present. That is why here we said three-chambered heart. And right auricle receives deoxygenated blood from the body parts. Okay. Whereas the left auricle receives oxygenated blood from the lungs. But this deoxygenated and this oxygenated blood, when they pour into this lower chamber, that is in the ventricle, it got mixed up. That is why here the ventricle which supply the blood to the body parts, that is the mixed blood. That is mixed blood. And here the circulation is called as the incomplete double circulation. Why? Because the upper part of the heart maintains the two circuits, one side deoxygenated, another side oxygenated. But going towards the lower chamber, that is in the ventricle, both these blood they will mix. That is why it cannot maintain a complete double circulation. That is why it is called as the incomplete double circulation. And for this examples are, yes, amphibians, reptiles. But in reptiles we have to exclude the crocodiles. Okay. In crocodiles we can see a completely divided four-chambered heart. So here in evolution process, four-chambered, okay, completely divided four-chambered heart is the highest in position in the heart structure, which we can see in, yes, from the reptiles we can see in crocodiles. And the next class, that is of apes, that is birds, and then mammals. So in all these we can see completely divided four-chambered heart, that is upper two of the auricles, that is of right and the left atria, and the lower right ventricle and the left ventricle. Okay. So here we can see that heart can maintain the two of the circuits. One side completely deoxygenated blood, whereas here completely oxygenated blood. Okay. One way it have a, one side it maintains the deoxygenated blood, whereas the left side it have the oxygenated blood. As it can maintain the deoxygenated and the oxygenated blood in a separate way, and never these two blood can mix, that is why such a circulation is called as the double circulation. A complete double circulation is seen in the case of these groups, crocodiles, apes and mammals.